Hello, students. This little mini lesson here today is going to be about just a few properties of exponents. We're not going to go over all of the properties of exponents because that would be it wouldn't be too much, but it would be more than what's in this unit. At certain times, we will go over more of the properties and when we get to those in different units. But again, with this, the first property that we want to talk about today is when you are multiplying. When you're multiplying, and so that's what we're going to do here with the product. So for the product property, when you have two variables that are being multiplied times each other, and again each variable has an exponent, there's a certain thing that you must do, that you have to do. What's important to know is that, and before I do this here, let me just kind of make a little note here that these variables must they have to have the same base. First off, everybody knows what a base is, right? When we talk about a base for an exponential expression, all exponential expressions have bases and exponents, right? So you got your base, and your base is raised to the power of your exponent, right? So you got your base raised to the power of your exponent. So that's what I mean when I say base. So these two have to have the same base. Or if you want to use this particular property. So if they have the same base, you can use this particular property. And in this case, the base is A. Okay, A is the base, but again, they have different exponents. Okay, so with this one here, what you'll wind up doing is add the exponents. Ooh. So this will wind up, and again, it may look a little abstract right now because I don't have any numbers here. Oh, by the way, what happens when they're not the same base? If they are not the same base, you can't add the exponents like that. Okay, and you can't put these two bases together because they're not the same base. So if they are not the same base, you just have to write them separately. So we're going to look at a few examples of and there's a lot of different ways that that the product property can be applied, and so there's no one particular way that is going to look. But again, the principle behind it is that if you have the same base like this, with exponents and they're being multiplied, you're going to add up the exponents. Okay, so let's just do a few examples to kind of help you out here. So let's say we had x to the third power and x to the fifth power. Okay, so here we've got 3x's, here we've got 5x's, and again, even if you didn't necessarily remember this property, like I said, I'd rather do too much than not do enough. Even if you didn't have this particular property, and even if you didn't remember to add the exponents, if you know that you have 3 exponents here, and then you have 3 x's here, and then you have 5 x's here, all together, that is a total of how many x's? Right? That's a total of 8 x's. Even if you didn't remember that you need to add these numbers, if you just write it out, because again, the exponent 3 means that there are 3 x's being multiplied times each other, x times x times x. And the exponent 5 means there are 5 x's here. Even if you didn't remember that, there's a total of 8 x's here. Okay, let's say that we had numbers, coefficients in front. All right, so if we had this here, and we had coefficients in front of those variables, the way that I suggest doing this is rewrite it so those parts that sort of kind of look alike are written beside each other. The 4 looks like the 5, looks like the -5, right? Write it so those parts are beside each other to kind of help yourself out a little bit if you're unsure about that. Okay? And then you got your n and your other n. All right? So with something like this, again, what you'd want to make sure you do is multiply your coefficients to make a new coefficient. Okay. So again, your coefficient here is 4 times -5, which is -20. And then with the variables, you're going to do the same thing like what we did here. Again, here for this first one, there are 13 n's. For the second one, there are 7 n's. When you put it all together, how many n's is that? 13 and 7. If you got to write it out like this so you can figure out how many it is, I don't really care. But again, you take the sum of those exponents, and that is n raised to the 20th power. Okay, so that would be written like this. This would be simplified like this. Let's say that you had more than one variable involved. Let's say that we had something like this. So if we had something like this, we would do it similar to how we did it in this second example here. My suggestion again, is to write out the parts together that sort of look similar. The -5 looks like the 11, the 8, x to the 8th power. You clearly know that looks just like the x to the 5th power. The y to the 15th power looks just like the y squared. W to the 4th, and W, Z to the 11th, and Z squared. Okay, so again, you multiply your coefficients, the -5 and the 11. That's -55, and then you do what you need to do with these with the ones that have the same base, right? So the ones that have the same base, because again, this property works like this, where you add the exponents. It only works when you have the same base. Okay, so when we put this together, there are 8 x's here and 5 x's beside that, and so we know all together that makes 13 x's, 15 y's, and then another 2 y's. That's a total of 17 y's, 4 w's, and then another one. So again, we can see here that's only 1 w and another 4. So that's w raised to the 5th power, and then putting these z's together, z to the 11th and z squared, or z, so you got 11 and 2, which makes z to the 13th power. Okay. And so this one will be like this when it's simplified. So again, remember that you multiply your exponents, you multiply your coefficients, and if they have the same base, you add the exponents. And again, my suggestion is if they have different coefficients, and if they have different bases, my suggestion is to write those parts beside each other first. Okay, coefficients and the ones that have the same base, write them beside each other, and then put it together. Okay, I do hope that this has helped you. That's it. At least for this property, that's it.